guys, how's it going? My name is Melissa for those of you that don't know me, and welcome to the channel. So for those of you that are new here, I wanted to invite you to be part of family. I basically just create content about working here in the US and how I got my volleyball scholarship to play at a college level, and then several blogs just about living here. So if this is kind of the content that you like, then don't forget to subscribe. But today I wanted to talk to you about my journey from a student visa to a work visa, or H-1B, which is what I'm doing right now. I get a lot of questions about it, so I thought I will just make a whole video just describing each step that I had to go through. There's obviously several ways to do the same thing, but just wanted to share my experience with you. So now let's get started. So the first step of my journey was coming here for my bachelor's degree. So I got a scholarship there for volleyball and then also academic. So in that situation, I had to apply for my F1 visa, which is my student visa. So I was able to study there for 4 years, which was what it took to get my degree. So I kind of explained this in other videos that I have on the channel, but basically depending on what career you choose, then you get an opportunity to do an operational practice training after you study that career. Now the length of that OPT will depend on if your career is a STEM program or if it's not. So basically STEM will be anything that's science, math, tech. Mostly business is not part of STEM, so I want you to keep that in mind. But for my bachelor's degree, I did business administration, accounting, and finance. So all of those things are not STEM. So basically my OPT in this case was only 1 year, which means that after I was done with my 4 years of career, I had 1 year to work for any company here in the US and kind of practice whatever the job was that was related to my career and what I studied. So doing OPT really gives you a lot of freedom, but in this case it's only 1 year. So I was able to get some experience working as an accountant for a engineering firm, and that experience was definitely very interesting. I'm gonna make another video talking about my transition from accounting to what I do now, but to continue explaining what happened, I basically realized that accounting wasn't really for me. So even if I wanted them to sponsor me, to be honest, that was probably not the best path for me professionally. So I went back to Peru for about a year or so while I was deciding where to apply for my master's degree, because I thought that was something that will help me kind of make that transition to something a little bit more dynamic, let's say. So what ended up happening was me deciding to go to the University of Maryland for my master's degree, and here I chose marketing analytics, and the program was classified as STEM, and I really made sure that that was the case because, you know, later on it will be really useful for me. So I ended up going to the University of Maryland for about a year to get my master's, and once I was done with that, I was able to get an OPT for that specific program. So just to add a little bit more to the OPT will be given to you every time you finish a degree or a specific study. So, you know, I had my OPT for my bachelor's, and here I'm getting an OPT for my master's. And here my OPT was different because my program was STEM, and therefore my OPT was about 3 years long, or 1.5, and then an extension of 1 year more. So definitely an advantage there. There's different steps that need to happen for the application and everything. Let me know if you want me to make a video. I definitely think I have that on my list of things to do for the channel, because I definitely consider myself almost an expert on that whole process, because I had to go through it myself and I had to do a lot of that documentation myself. So definitely just watch out for that video. I will leave it here if I end up ever posting it. So going back to those 3 years of operational practice training that I had for this degree, I ended up getting a job at a marketing agency here in Maryland. So I ended up getting a lot of experience doing analytics for web, and that was really cool. I really enjoyed working with all these different companies, and I feel like it was a very fast-paced environment, which was really cool. But then I definitely wanted to get that sponsorship, and after those first few months I met with my boss, and unfortunately, because there were a lot of changes that were happening at the agency, I had like 3 different bosses in that short period of time. So I think that definitely made things difficult. But when I had to meet with the director of the department, which had just been there for about like a couple months, even though I have been performing for about 6 months or a little bit more, he just couldn't really support the sponsorship because he mentioned that he hadn't been there for that long. But I knew that I needed that sponsorship and that I only had 3 years to make that happen. So I started applying for different companies and ended up deciding to leave after a year or so because another company, which is the company where I'm at right now, offered to sponsor me, you know, for the first year. So that was really cool, and also, you know, had a salary increase and everything. So that was something that I was able to do while I was on my OPT. So I definitely think that that is something that a lot of people don't know, or a lot of international students don't know, but you're able to really move around during your OPT, and that is your chance to get that experience and really choose who you want to stay with for, you know, the long run. I used to think that I just had to stick with one company because the sponsorship and all of these things were something that not everyone offered. But then as you keep interviewing and really looking around, you realize that there's actually a lot of opportunity, and there's a lot of companies that really want employees to stay for the long run, and they will invest on you just because of that. And then second of all, because that sponsorship is actually not a huge cost compared to what you will have to really invest on if you're trying to hire new people every single year. So for them, I think it's a better investment to actually have someone that needs that sponsorship. Obviously it's not for every company, but there are a lot that do have these opportunities. So I think that was something that I really had to make sure I understood, and that I was able to act upon that whenever I was negotiating or whenever I wanted to look for more opportunities for me. So for those of you that don't know, for the H-1B, so you can get sponsored for a for-profit company or a non-profit company. Now, depending on which one of those giving you that offer, your timing is different. So obviously, while you're working on your OPT, you should be applying for that sponsorship, because once you're done with that OPT, you are not legally allowed to work. Therefore, usually you are applying for the work visa while you are on OPT. So for the for-profit company, so you have to get picked in the lottery, and after that you actually submit all your documentation to be approved. So this is actually something that is really stressful, and I had to go through that twice because I had 3 years to apply the first time, didn't get it, but I got picked in the lottery, applied the second time, I got picked for the lottery, and then got approved with my paperwork. So this is kind of a risk that you have to go through if you're applying with a for-profit. Obviously the advantages include probably a more competitive pay for most of the field, whereas the non-profit might be less competitive, but obviously because of this advantage where you don't have to actually go through a lottery, then you know, there's more chances for you to get that H-1B and not having to worry about anything else later on. I think the paperwork is kind of straightforward, but it has to be done correctly, very specifically. It also depends a lot who is reviewing your application, so I think you just have to go in with something really strong so that you don't give them any chance to argue against you. Now, like I said, I have a lot of experience doing this because my lawyers didn't do a good job the first time, and I had to redo everything myself the second time where we got approved. So I definitely will do a video about that, but obviously subscribe if you want to see that. So last September was when I received my approval for my H-1B, so I'm really happy. This has been a great journey with a lot of experience. I definitely know now a lot more about negotiating salaries, kind of being straightforward and honest about what I need from the job when I'm applying, especially needing that sponsorship for most of my career. So we'll see how things go, but so far so good, guys. A lot of effort put in all of these years to make it here. So if working in the US is something that you want to do, this is just one of the paths that you can take. If you like this video, give me, you know, a thumbs up, subscribe. I'll leave you more videos here about this topic on my Instagram. Follow me there, you can ask me questions there as well. Let's be friends, and yeah, I'll see you on the next video. Good luck, bye.